Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I don't know about y'all, but for some reason I've been stumbling across a certain talking point that has been brought up for some unseemly reason on most of my social media and Facebook and amongst all my friends, and it's dealing with the topic of small talk and how some people just don't like having to deal with small talk, and they feel like, either it's boring or it's just too complicated to get through. And that gave me an idea for this video, and that I sometimes suffer from, not necessarily from having small talk, because I do consider myself being pretty extroverted in certain social situations, but there's a lot of common questions out there that almost always get brought up during common exchanges when you're meeting someone for the first time or getting to know someone for the first time. And they're rather innocent and they're rather simple, but for some reason I have a difficult time answering them. And I say difficult, I'm being kind of facetious when I say that, but what I basically mean is there's so much nuance and so much overthinking and depth I could give to these questions, and I just feel like I would go through them one by one. But basically, for the title of this video, here are my top 6 simple questions that for some reason I just have a hard time answering. Number 1, what is your favorite movie? This is probably a way easier question for other people out there, but for me personally, it's about as difficult as like asking a parent of 5 children having to choose which one is their favorite amongst those 5 kids. That's basically how I feel about it. I have so many different movies that have influenced me and changed the way I thought and changed me as a person, have influenced me, but there are also maybe movies out there that didn't really resonate with me as far as making me change my way of thinking, but just validated certain things that I already agreed with. You know what I mean? That they really hit home on certain themes that resonate with all of us. I guess if you really had to put a gun to my head, I would say like one of my top favorite movies that I would probably never get tired of watching, that always brings emotions out of me, that always makes me feel adventurous, always makes me feel better as a person, and makes me feel better about humankind and the goodness of others, would probably be the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But that, again, that's probably putting a gun to my head if you really asked me to actually answer the question, because as far as my favorite movies out there, I probably couldn't count on 2 hands what those are, and therefore this makes this question rather difficult for me to answer. Number 2, what kind of music do you listen to? I mean, I guess for like a lot of other people, I have my go-tos when it comes to certain things that I'm doing, like maybe when I'm working out or at work and having to listen to music. I have a playlist of all different things put together, and there may be certain genres that play more than others. But if you were to go to my Spotify playlist right now, you would see music from all different kinds of eras and genres. You would see electric EDM and dance and house music. You would see oldies, like music from the 60s and 70s. You would see rock music. You would see some R&B. You would see some show tunes and musical theater stuff in there. You would see a whole different slew of different genres all up in my playlist, and I could jump easily from one of them to the other. Plus, I generally like to have preferences on certain music and genres depending on what kind of mood I want to set. And like a very very basic example, both figuratively and literally, like you go to like a coffee house, like a place like Starbucks or some local coffee shop anywhere, and what do you hear? You probably hear like soft acoustic music or soft jazz music, very, instrumental music and stuff like that. That's probably what you would hear, and that's what I would expect to hear going to a place like that. I don't want to hear like I don't want to hear like the top 40 in a place like that. I mean, why would I? I mean, I could totally understand it going into like a very subpar restaurant somewhere, but yeah, otherwise I don't. There's certain moods that I want to be put in when I want to listen to certain songs, especially if I'm feeling like sad, or I'm feeling excited, or I'm feeling happy, or I'm feeling energetic. There's always these different songs that we all have our go-to. And it's like, it's on par with the same question, like, what's your favorite band? I mean, like, you could probably play some of the songs on my playlist, and I could not tell you what the titles were. I couldn't tell you what the artists were, because I'm usually going off certain sounds and beats and melodies that just struck a chord with me emotionally by the way and how it's played. To me, things like lyrics are actually kind of secondary. They, if I end up learning them eventually by listening to the song, you know, great. But most of the time I'm listening to the sounds that the music is making and the beats and all that, and how it moves me in that way. And that's how I judge what kind of music I like. And it just happens to be a whole different slew of them. Number 3, what is your passion? Okay, so I don't know if this one answer is going to be hit or miss with some people, because, you know, for whatever reason, there could be things like politics and stuff that get involved with me answering this question. But really, if I have to give you what my general honest answer is when it comes to passion, I encourage you to go watch this one TED Talk by a celebrity by the name of Mike Rowe. And if you don't know who he is, he was basically the host of a Discovery Channel show called Dirty Jobs for a long time. And I actually don't know what he does now, to be honest, but he does some public speaking, I guess. But, you know, some people may not necessarily like to listen to him because he is seen as a very conservative viewpoint, and he's spoken for certain conservative news sites and websites and all that stuff. And, you know, for whatever reason, that'll rub people the wrong way. But I think he gave the best speech when it came to people having to find their passion. It's about a 20-minute long video. I'll link it in the description, but it's really like the long-winded answer of how I have to answer this question, because I think when it comes to passion, there is not a specific answer, nor should there be. It's like saying, like, if you ask someone, what are you passionate about? And they say, like, well, I want to go into teaching. And like, well, that's so specific. Maybe you would rather say that you're passionate about helping others, or working with kids, or gaining knowledge and sharing it with other people. I mean, sometimes it's nice to be more generic and general about your passions, because then you can translate that to many different fields and apply it to many different settings. And you don't have to necessarily look for something so specific. Would I necessarily say that I'm passionate about my specific job that I have right now? No, maybe not, but, you know, I'm passionate about stuff that's entailed within it, like math and science and stuff like that, and I like to know that stuff, and I like to learn that stuff, and I like to talk about that stuff. I may not necessarily be good at it sometimes, but I like to gain knowledge, and I like to share it, and I like to hear my voice. Or not hear my voice, I like to share my voice. I like to talk with people, engage with people, have people engage in debates and conversations, and be a moderator between all different kinds of viewpoints and stuff like that. And that's the main reason why I do YouTube, because I like to encourage discussion, and I like to encourage critical thinking. And that's kind of what my general passion is. And it's, I think, just being more general rather than very specific is the best route when it comes to passion. And that leads me into sharing a specific quote from Mike Rowe's speech, and that: don't follow your passion, but always bring it with you, if that makes any sense. And if it doesn't make any sense, again, I encourage you to watch the video, because that's really just my long-winded, that is the long-winded answer as to what I feel about following your passion. Number 4, what goals do you have? This is like, you know, something we may hear maybe in common conversation, but something we may also hear like in interview questions. And, you know, I guess like the best answer to give, like technically when you're giving like an interview, is to say, oh, my goal in 5 or so years is to probably be at upper management in this company that I'm interviewing for. I mean, that's what they want to hear. They want to hear, you know, the fact that you're committed and that you'll have longevity. But I think in reality, when it comes to goals, you know, like people ask me, what are your goals? I'm like, well, when I woke up this morning, my goal was to eventually get out of bed and to brush my teeth and to get dressed and then go to work and do the best I could for 8 hours, get lunch around noon, and then, you know, stuff like that. And it's like, oh, you're like a spontaneous type of person like that, you know, that you're going to suffer for that in the long term. And no, that's not necessarily it, because I think we all passively have goals when meeting certain common milestones. You know, like I obviously had a goal when I was 16 to graduate from high school and probably go to college, and have obviously had a goal to graduate from college and had a goal to get a job, but I never made it something so specific, because in doing and trying to set these hard set goals, I felt like I could have potentially missed out on many different opportunities. And, you know, from a personal example, like for the longest time, I had a goal to go to a specific college for the longest time. I wanted to go to this one specific college when I was going through high school, and I was denied that opportunity. It's not that I wasn't accepted at the university. It honestly had something to do with my parents. They didn't want me to go to this university, like, whatsoever. And I was eventually pressured into going to another university. And I was bummed about it for a while. But as a result of going to this other college, so many different kinds of wonderful opportunities opened up to me. And my long-term goal, sure, was to graduate from college, but I didn't realize what kind of goals I had planned, because, you know, they were gonna pop up at any moment as far as me setting my own new goals, because I was finding goals that I actually cared to set, if that made any sense, you know, because I wasn't necessarily, I always had the bigger picture in the back of my mind, but it wasn't blinding me to all the other stuff that was in front of me. And I don't know if I'm going off on a tangent anymore about that, but if it makes any more sense, basically I feel like, you know, your goals are broad and they don't need to be so specific, just like your passion. Number 5, what is your greatest fear? A higher dislike to like ratio on any of my videos. No, I'm just kidding. Not really. But anyway, I guess if you had asked me this question when I was in high school, I probably could have given you a way more specific answer than I could now. But, you know, being an adult, it's like, I guess if I have to be, like, very general, like, of course, like any other human out there, I'm afraid of, like, failure. I'm afraid of embarrassment. I'm afraid of my reputation being soiled, whether professionally or socially. I'm afraid of losing loved ones and friends around me. I'm afraid of all that stuff, but like at the same time, it's like I'm not necessarily afraid of it in the sense that I know that I have the power within myself to break away from that fear and eventually find happiness and peace again, you know? I don't want to let necessarily fear be a dictator. I can certainly let it be a motivator. I can certainly, you know, have, you know, a very easy example here, but obviously I have a fear of, like, you know, being broke and being homeless and stuff like that, so that obviously gives me motivation to work hard at my job and stuff and all that. And, you know, that's a very specific example. We all have those common fears, but as far as being fearful of more specific things, I can't really say. I can be hesitant of change sometimes, but I feel like that's just a natural human reaction. You know, we all are resistant to change. That's just a human condition. So again, the fact that I'm kind of trailing off makes this a difficult question for me to answer, because I feel like my fear, my greatest fear, so to speak, was different as it was as a kid, different as an early adult, and it's different now, and it's probably going to be different when I'm 30 and 40 and 50, because fear goes through stages just like everything else. And finally, number 6, what is your name? No, I'm kidding. And finally, number 6, what is your greatest quality? I guess I'm that kind of person where I find it easier to be harder on myself than to give myself more credit than I'm worth. Because, like, I could probably find the question much easier to answer if you had said, what is my greatest disquality or my greatest vice? I could probably give you several different answers to that, but as far as my greatest quality, you know, I don't know. I feel like if you go between all my closest friends, they probably would say something different, you know? They may all be in the same general ballpark, but I feel like a lot of them would be different or have subtly different opinions about me, if I can put it that way. But, you know, I feel like my greatest quality is trying to stay impartial, trying to find the truth, trying to not be judgmental, trying to see the common ground between two sides, trying to bring people of different backgrounds and ideas and philosophies together, trying to find peace between everyone, you know, stuff like that. Basically trying to be a moderator. Some people have said that I'm outgoing, that I'm fun-loving, that I'm humorous. All in all, I feel like my greatest quality is just up to each new person that meets me and comes to their own conclusions. I feel like you should let other people be the judge of that. And I feel like maybe it's more important to find the issues that you have as a person the problems that you have as a person, the shortcomings you have as a person, and try to fix those and improve on those. And hopefully through a gradual process of doing that, you become a better person overall. So anyway guys, that's my video about common and simple questions that people ask each other all the time, but for some reason I have a more than difficult time answering. If you feel like you have questions like those, or if these questions that I've asked apply to you as well, please share them in the comments. Let me know what your answers are. And again, if you have specific questions that for some reason you can't answer real easily, but other people ask you all the time, please let me know in the comment section below. And stay tuned for more.